Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 440 of The Joy of Coding. Yeah, that's right, 440 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. Am I off center? I think I'm slightly off center. I'm just going to move the camera just a little bit. A little bit. There we go. I don't know why. There we go. I don't know why that was so, that was offset, but here we are anyways. No, welcome to episode 440 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff. Going to be continuing on with that download sidebar thing that we've been kind of hacking away at over a few weeks. This is one of those projects where I don't work on it in between episodes, so you're getting to watch sort of like this continuous progression, which also means that it tends to stretch out a bit because I'm only doing like an hour and a half each week. So we've barely put in half a day at this point. So this is why it might take longer than typical, but this isn't really in the critical path, so I think it's okay. So let me start by sharing my screen. Hey, it's May. Whoa. Sorry, I lost OBS. It's May 13th, 2026. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what I want to do today. I think I know what I want to cover and how I might go about doing it, but I don't have any sort of like pre-written stuff. I haven't done it in advance to see whether or not it will go well. So all of this might go sideways. We might get sidelined, blocked, frustrated, distracted. All of those are okay. We're going to just kind of deal with it as it comes. You're watching me do software development like I would actually do software development. And all of the struggles and trials and tribulations therein. The second thing is that the agenda that I've got in front of me is something that you have access to. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, there will be a link over there in the details section. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's down in the channel, the video description. If you're watching this on Twitch, it's down in the channel details. And as I update the agenda, maybe I add some text or something, this little spinny will spin. And then if you reload the agenda, you should get the most up-to-date version. There you go. So, what's going on today? Well, I'm continuing the download sidebar work. A quick update. Let's quick update on center crop. So this is something that we had talked about a little bit last week, where it didn't seem like there was great platform support for center cropping. And if you're not sure what I mean by center cropping, I mean when we show the list of downloads for especially long file names, we never want to accidentally hide the file extension, which by convention is at the very end of a file name. That's always been the case as far as I know in all of my years of computing. The file extension, the thing that sort of tells your operating system and tells other programs what a file claims to be, is at the very end of the file name. And if you've got a very, very, very long file name and you're not careful, then that if you've got like your display of that file name is constrained, you have to make a decision about what you want to show. You know, you can't show the whole thing. So what do you cut out? How do you make it so that people can sort of see the information they need to see? And so the solution is to do what's called a center crop, where you've got this long file name and you've got the beginning and you've got the end, and then you find a good chunk in the middle that you don't care about, and then you replace it with an ellipsis and make it so that the text kind of fits into the rectangle that you're trying to get it to fit into, but by culling or eliding over center characters rather than start or end characters. And that's called center cropping, and there's not a really great solution for that on the web built in. Like, we have things like text overflow. So we were looking at this last week. So there is this notion of, what is this, an SVG? Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Text overflow CSS property. It allows you to like have an ellipsis at the end of the string. I'll bet you could even get the ellipsis happening at the start if you're clever and you're using like, you do like some RTL stuff. There's also like clip, or you can supply your own character if you want. But what it doesn't have support for is center cropping. And part of that reason Like, this isn't just like, oh, web developers don't need this. It's actually because it's a really hard problem. It might not seem hard. Like, how hard could it be? Just take, like, the length of the string, divide it by 2 to find the middle, and then find enough characters on either side of that middle point and replace with an ellipsis. How hard could it be? Well, that elides over a lot of complexity, particularly with internationalization. So these are Latin characters, but what about Unicode characters that are like, I don't know, like that you. What about characters that make no sense after you've removed a character in front of it? Like, how does it work whenever you've got languages where the characters, you can't just kind of like remove a subset of them without the whole thing making less sense? Like, that is the vibe I've been getting from our text renderer folks. So I spoke to the layout team briefly today. I got some feedback from them on this, and it is harder than you'd think. Or a file name that's in Zalgo text. Yeah, exactly. Which is absurd, but also possible. If you're not familiar with Zalgo, that's like, it's like this. Like, all your data belong to us. Let's add some craziness. There's even more. That's not even the most crazy. Like, I was expecting it to get taller. I don't know why it's so constrained. Is that like is that a recent limitation? Let's open this in Firefox release. This is important. I'm glad I am getting distracted, but this is important. Zalgo, zalgo.org. Huh. What about Safari? Has there been a change in how we render text? That's weird. Like, there is something up. Is this the most important thing on the web? No. But it's important that we be able to render text such that people can read it. And something's going on here with our text rendering. I don't know. Maybe worth filing. If someone is of the mind that they want to file this, it might be worth filing if we're doing it wrong. If we're doing it wrong. Maybe we're doing it right. Maybe Safari's doing it wrong. Okay. So, yeah, cropping. Very difficult. Also, there's a spammer in the channel. Feel free to take them out. We have two choices. I got that information, some of it only an hour or so ago. We could look at center cropping. We could start sort of figuring out how we want to do that. It will require a concession where we will re-implement Zool style center cropping. Because like Zool, this is what we used before. We were doing center cropping with a Zool label. This is how the old download panel used to work. But the concession is that like you have the same internationalization problems. But the good news is we would not expose this to the web at large. This would just be for UI in Firefox. We do not have a Zalgo localization of Firefox. We do not like if you're file naming your stuff after. I would guess your operating system would also have a problem with Zalgo text for a file name. It's always possible, I guess, but try not to do that. Anyways, the idea being we would re-implement Zool style center cropping, but for Moz label with a special either with a special property or some special mechanism in Moz label to indicate to the engine to use center crop. And then we would do some C++ stuff to wire up the logic that Zool center crop uses to that. And then anywhere we want to use center cropping, we'd use a Moz label and set our special property. So it's either that or this part, which we could do today, which is to factor out some of the download item UI into a reusable lit element. And or as just a reusable component that we could then start embedding in the sidebar. And I think I want to do this one. I think I want to spend more time thinking about this one. Maybe we can do this next time. But I may want to consult and sketch it out with the layout team in more detail before we attack it. And then I can put together a plan. We can have a plan of attack. Because I am not a layout or text renderer expert. This is not my field of expertise. I'm certain I will have to go back and forth with them a couple times to come up with a reasonable approach and a reasonable architecture. This, however, I feel much more comfortable doing. So I'm hoping we can do this today. And just a heads up, I have unskippable meetings next week during this time slot. So I will not be... fixed. In ESR, it works as expected as well as release on FreeBSD. Release on Macs seems broken. So maybe it's just Mac OS. Interesting. For the Zalgo text, interesting. It's maybe worth it may be worth filing. Under where would it go? Text rendering? Where would I put it? New bug. Text. Graphic. I'd probably put it under either graphics text or more likely layout text and fonts. That's where I would file the bug. Text and fonts, if one were so inclined. Okay, so yeah, no episode next week, but I'll be back hopefully on the 27th. So let's get into it. Let's try and do this factoring out. Smurfy says, sure, I'll fix. You mean file, or are you actually going to patch it? Because that'd be incredible. I would want to watch that. So let me know if you're doing that, and I will watch your stream if you're doing one. So how do we factor this out? Let us open Visual Studio. Let us open the required file. Download view UI. So I think the first thing that we have to grapple with is the way that this was designed was to be a base class that could be subclassed. And then the way it is used is that people, was it download element shell? So they get this thing and then they subclass it here. This is like old school subclassing with like JS prototype stuff. And then these items are, instead of just being like custom elements, they are manually constructed like this. And then we call shell element hidden. There is, at some point, there's like shell dot ensure visible elements are active. Ensure active right here is whenever we like tell it, okay, now do the thing where you populate the children. And that's a little awkward. That is not really a nice pattern. This is a very reasonable pattern, say 10 years ago, or however long ago this stuff was written. Some of this is from back in the day. 2015, 2012. And that made sense back then, but these days I think we can do a little bit better. So let's think a little bit about how we want to reorganize this. So my idealized state is that we can have something like a download UI view. What do they call it? Download element shell. Download element shell. Lit element base class. Okay, very well. We want to be able to subclass these things. I think that's still a fine pattern. And then we have two subclasses. We've got history download element shell, and we've got here download view item. And this one's using like ES6 classes, which is really interesting. Download view item. And then what we would do is have each of these subclasses a subclass here. Each of these subclasses would register themselves as a custom element in their document, like history download element, and then maybe this one would be called download view item. Sure. Smurfd says that the rendering differences on Zalgo text, that this is a 6-year-old bug. That's Nightly, Safari, Chrome, Release. I don't think there is a here's JFK Jonathan Q, who is still, I think, the expert at working on Gecko and Firefox on font rendering. So he's a very authoritative voice here. Let us read what Jonathan Q said. I love JFK Thame. He's the best. So smart. I don't think there is any particularly correct rendering for junk like this. In any given browser, you're probably seeing a mixture of various fonts, depending on browser defaults and whatever fallback finds in the environment. As the main font being used for the content doesn't support many of the characters that are present, the result of throwing lots of combining marks and a mixture of fonts into the text can't really be expected to be consistent or predictable or readable. If the content were styled with a font that actually supported all the characters present, we could discuss whether it's being rendered correctly. As it is, it looks more like someone just threw handfuls of glyphs at the page, and they stuck whatever they happen to fall. Different browsers, or even the same browser on different systems, will likely have grabbed glyphs from different font buckets, so naturally the results will vary. And you know what? Absolutely correct. Spot on, Jonathan. This is not where we should be spending our time. Like, as fun as Zalgo text may be, this is a terrible usage of time. We should be doing better things to improve the performance of the browser, and working on better font rendering, better readability, stuff like that. Trying to get Zalgo text to be consistent is a bad use of time. Also, before I continue, some of you may have noticed my toolbar and sidebar are looking pretty spiffy. A winky face would not have hurt, says Smurfd. I guess. I mean, yeah. Here's the thing with Bugzilla or communicating with text is that you don't always get the tone. You can't really get the tone. Yeah, maybe a winky face may have made it seem like Jonathan is, he knows that this is all kind of like silly stuff, but maybe it's not exactly coming across fairly dry and terse. So yeah, maybe a winky face would have helped, but sounds like a nice weekend challenge for a contributor. Yeah, maybe. The problem is that then someone has to review it. So it isn't just, a contributor who gets to think about it. Like, Jonathan would probably end up having to review the change, and if the change is like outrageous, then we have to burn time. Once again, it's like, what do we want to spend our time both writing, reviewing, and maintaining? It's not just the writing of the patch where time goes. It's the reviewing and the maintenance too. Keeping it alive, getting it tested, like all of these things. So yeah, a contributor could work on it, but one of the things I highly recommend if you're going to contribute to, and it also takes stream time. That's right, it's burning the stream up. We're 26 minutes in roughly, and I'm still talking about Zalgo text. Yeah, well, this is a time sink. I will close on this though by saying, what I highly recommend if you are going to contribute to an open source project, like, yes, you should scratch your own itch, but if you're gonna work on something that maybe wasn't filed by the person who is maintaining the project, was maybe you filed it, or if it's unclear whether or not the project wants the fix, is to ask. ask whether or not they would accept a patch for a thing. Because if you rock up, you spend like 3 months working on a thing, and you rock up with a patch for something that, like, the main project maintainer doesn't want to maintain or even accept. Like, that's terrible for you. You spent your time working on something that ultimately isn't going to get landed, probably, or and like the maintainer has to tell you that and be like, well, sorry, you could have been working on more useful things. Yeah, and like it's just the worst. It's a waste of time. Obviously, I guess one thing you could do is you could have your own like local build of whatever it is that you're working on to get the thing that you wanted. But if your goal is to upstream, you should absolutely coordinate with the maintainer, and you should ask, like, will you take a patch for this? But if you want to use it as a learning exercise, by all means, this is a very interesting learning exercise. Maybe someone who's trying to get into the text rendering realm. Fonts, that glyphs, all that interesting internationalization stuff. Yeah, this could be very fun. So highly recommend for that. But I cannot, I like, just because it's filed in Bugzilla does not mean a patch would be accepted for it. That's I think the TLDR there. Okay. Let's keep moving. I got distracted. Let's keep moving. So this is a downloads view item, and I think if I recall correctly, it's the same idea where it's constructed manually like this, like at runtime, imperatively. We set it to this like map thing, and then there's a call to ensure active, which actually does the work of inserting the thing. So what I would imagine we'd want to do instead, like, you can still construct these things programmatically. We can export these as, I guess we could have them be registered like this, but also if they are just like subclass lit element, you can still construct them with new history download element shell. Like, I don't have a problem with that, or new download view item. But instead of calling ensure active, you'd insert it. You'd insert it like this element thing. Instead of like making it, you'd effectively want to take the element, this element, and then make the downloads view item the first and only child of this element. And then you don't need the ensure active part. Now let's see if that would work as well for the history download element shell. So here, oh, interesting. This one doesn't take an element as the parent element. It creates it on its own. So that's interesting. We may need to do something a little more like what's going on in the downloads panel, where out here we construct the rich list item, and then the subclass just gets inserted into it, into the shell's element, the parent element. Okay. So that's what I think I want to do. Looking at downloads view UI, maybe the first thing I'll do is I will convert this to using ES6 classes, just so that it's easier to reason about. That is how we will start. Where are we in the commit tree here? We've got something called switch download element shell to use HTML elements. Now, how difficult would it be? Like, I kind of feel like switching this to using ES6 classes might be easier as an earlier patch here. So let's try this. I may end up getting into like rebase hell, but it's jujitsu, so it's fine. I'm actually gonna check out this earlier patch, and then we can do our ES6 classing thing, ES6 class thing here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say class downloads element shell equals, I guess you can't do that. You can't like hang it off of download view UI. So download view UI, which I expect is, do we have like export? Yeah, we'll just like hang it off the end of download view UI. Maybe at the bottom. Base view. This happens right here. Is download view UI is here. It's an export of var, and then there's like an assignment, lazy preference getter. Is there like, we can assign it. Well, I'll just assign it at the end here. So we'll just say that this is download element shell. Is defined but never used. Hey, relax, relax. I'm gonna assign it. Downloads view UI dot download element shell equals download element shell. Relax. And then all of this stuff is gonna go inside of it. And then we're gonna rejig it so that it's using ES6 class style. So we'll go ahead and take all of this gunk. We'll put it in here. We have to get rid of our commas because they're not comma separated. I hope I don't get a YouTube strike for a cappella singing Africa by Toto, which is it's fine as a song. I think people get really excited about it, but I don't know if it's that great a song. It's fine. It's a fine song. I could not have written a better song. But I think people get too excited about Toto's Africa. It's a fine song. But it's not, I don't think it's as good as people make it out to be. It's fine. Okay. And then element equals null. I think that'll do it. I think that is now compatible. Let's see. Let's like build this. That's a pretty cool baseline. To be clear, it's a pretty cool baseline. Very Canadian. Mike can't say negative stuff without feeling sorry. I mean, they put their heart in, they probably worked very hard on that song. Who am I, a nobody on the internet, to say that, you know, hey, like, Toto have obviously crafted a hit. There can be no question that it was a hit song. I just think that people get way too excited when that song comes on. Like, it's a hit, but it's not like, what would I compare it to? Shall I compare thee to a Bohemian Rhapsody? No. Not even close. Maybe, what would I compare it to? Foreigner's Cold as Ice, maybe? Where it's just like someone here, it's like good commercial music, good commercial pop music from the 80s. I mean, it's got that soaring chorus. It's very nice, but it comes on in like karaoke or like someone starts covering it at a bar and people just like lose their minds. People just lose their minds. Okay. Safety dance? Safety dance. Very Canadian. Great job. Men Without Hats. It's the safety dance. Yeah, that's a great analogy. All right, let us try creating a download, see if we can get stuff to show up. So, save. We got our download item here. That's working. Show all downloads. Yep, this is working. Subclassing is working. And if I go to about downloads, subclassing is working. So great job. Great job. Now that we've got our subclass, I will commit this, and then we are going to rebase this on top of this, and there might be some breakage. We'll see how smart Jujitsu is. JJ commit bug switch download element shell to ES6 classes. We don't need that anymore. Okay, and now we are going to rebase our OLZ destination VQUN. Let's see what breaks. Okay, yeah, as expected, some conflicts, but we don't have to freak out. It's jujitsu. So that means that even though there's a conflict, we're not in like a weird conflicted state. A conflict is a thing that exists in the tree that you can deal with on your own time. So, let us now deal with these conflicts. JJ new OLZ. So it's saying that here there's a two-sided conflict. Go away messages. So what are the two sides of this conflict? Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. So it's like, hey, guess what? I expect there to be progress here. We had already put a progress here, so we don't need this anymore. This can all go away. Progress. Yeah, go away. And then you're like this. And then like that. Hey! Feels good. So now I squash into that. Now we build. Now let's run our tests. 2. Conflict resolved. Downloading. I guess maybe I hadn't run a mock build in a while. Okay. It's a safety dance. A great Canadian band, The Men Without Hats. I don't know if anyone here is a fan. I've never seen them live. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to see them live. There's a band that's American that I like called Faith No More. I've been a fan of theirs for a long time. And there's this, during the COVID-19 lockdowns, a bunch of musicians got together to cover We Care a Lot, a song by Faith No More. And it had musicians from all over sort of like the rock spectrum. You had the drummer from Korn being on the same track as the lead singer from Our Lady Peace, Filter, and the keyboardist from Men Without Hats, the bass player from Anthrax, a guitar player from Mastodon. Who else was in there? Oh, man. Refused? I think there's a fellow from Refused on there. It was pretty great. It's pretty great. I enjoy that cover. If you can find it, it's on YouTube. You can watch those people playing We Care a Lot. We Care a Lot. It's a great song. Okay, so let us now run these tests. Make sure that they are still operating as we would expect. JJ SHOYYO. That's going to show YYO. That's going to get us the name of our test. That's right. It was this. Mock test. Run. Who else was in that? There were bands I'd never heard of, but there were definitely some bands and musicians I had heard of, and it was very cool. It was a great cover, especially because like during the lockdown, no one was touring. I think they were raising money I think it was for charity, maybe for like road workers, like roadies and music touring musicians. Okay, I have to look now. We Care a Lot. I've watched this recently, so it should be in here. Yeah. Run DMC. That's right. Run DMC's on it. One of the guys from Run DMC. Refused. Okay, here's the full list. Faith No More, We Care a Lot 2020 covers. There was a band called Slaves on Dope, which I've never heard of before, but I think they're the ones who organized it. So they must be pretty influential. Which is read through here, a Canadian nu metal band based in Montreal, Quebec. I'd not heard of them before. I guess I'm not a very good Canadian. Refused, Quicksand, Brutal Truth, Czarface, Run DMC, Filter, and Our Lady Peace. Yeah, it's a who's who of music heavyweights. So that was it was for Roadie Relief. This is a very cool cover. There's another very cool cover if this is something that you're really into. Here, I'll put a link to this I'll put it in the agenda. We Care a Lot cover. And then, whoa, no. I want to put the link, not the, there we go. I didn't want to embed the video. And then the other one is a cover of Rush's Anthem, I think it's called. So this is a great cover. Anthem. Nope. So Faith No More's Rush's Anthem. And this is being covered by people from Mastodon, Primus. So they got Les Claypool. Tool, they've got Danny Carey on drums, a band called Mutoid Man, Steve Brodsky from Cave In, let's see, the singer from Coheed and Cambria. It's pretty cool. Check it out. Anyways, let us continue. We got distracted again. Our tests passed. Let us now figure out if we can get this to kind of be more like a lit element. Right, I think that stream had a lot of those collabs. Yeah, there were like great collabs because like musicians weren't doing anything. I don't know if everyone remembers, but it was like pretty rough. Musicians were not doing much around that time. Do you remember? So let's see if we can make this subclass Moz lit element and make it into a lit element. Extends is what we're looking for. Extends. Moz lit element. And when you do that, you need to... Well, that's interesting. There aren't too many sys.mjs's that do this. So I wonder if we actually want to split this out into its own module. Like maybe this should go under download content. And we'll call it like download element shell. Is that even advisable? Partridge Farm remembers, Pepperidge Farm remembers. Partridge Farm 2. Let's see what happens if we take this out. If we take this out, do we get any warnings about like undefined variables or dependencies? If I put this under downloads content and I call it download element shell.mjs. So it doesn't know what I mean by downloads view UI. That's fine. Okay, so there's this like handler service and downloads common, which it's very upset about not finding. So let's get the full list. Document's already a global variable, dog. Yeah, we should just use document because we're outside of a... well, all of this is probably going to get simplified, so that's fine. There's something called gdownload list item fragments, which I don't know if we'll need that anymore. That seems like a kind of like a... These days, kind of a silly optimization. I don't know if we need that. What else? The browser window tracker. What's used in browser window? So all these like sort of command responses are maybe a big problem because they all assume access to these privileged things, which, you know, come to think of it, maybe is an okay concession for now. Like let's look at about logins for a second here. Are there any imports of any privileged things? Utils, controllers. What's utils? About logins utils. Here it is. And what's it doing? It's like redirecting. It's maybe like a mix in, and then it finds things like about logins utils and the prompt for primary password, which is inside of about logins child. It gets exposed via, yeah, it gets exposed that way. So if our goal is for this to be something that can show up inside of, say, Storybook, that would be great. Then a lot of what we're doing here by reacting to certain commands isn't going to fly. You almost need to have you need to have a JS actor pair that's going to do the needful for you. And instead, what you do is you emit events with detail about what needs to occur. Current default command name returns the name of the default command to use for the current state of the download when there is a double click or another default interaction. And downloads common. Oh boy. State of download. What other things from downloads common do we use? Get MIME info. Okay. Do we? I'm sure it's happened. It's probably not the best practice, but it's probably our shortest path to success. I'm looking for a way of saying not sys.mjs. Toolkit, content, widgets. Yeah, like the browser custom element will do this kind of fancy pants stuff. So it's not completely unheard of to do this. It's just you're not gonna be able to be embedded inside of Storybook. But maybe that is a fine concession for now. If we can just get it so that it can be embedded in parent process documents, which is maybe fine. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll import. We'll get these things. We're gonna need these things. And we're gonna need the license. Turns out we don't need app constants. System modules can be imported with static import declaration only from system modules. Really? Browser element content, browser custom element .mjs. Lots of type errors. So I think it's asking me to do it this way instead, basically. Very well. Unused. Define lazy service getter, unused. Now what is the breakage? It doesn't know what download integration is. It doesn't know what that status is. Already a global variable. There's something called status out here. What are you talking about? Status. Status is already a global variable. No shadow. There's something called status already. I don't know where. But the claim is that it's already out there. Here. Oh, that's interesting. Oh no, that's status. That's not right. Status. That's status. Var status. Status equals. No shadow. What am I shadowing? What are you talking about? All right, we'll look at that later. We don't need this part. And now we'll also bring in a mozlit element. Lit utils. Can I just do this? Would it be happy about that? Declared but never used. Extends mozlit element. It's declared but never used. We're going to export it. I don't know what this is for. What is this again? Download list item fragments. It's a weak map that it just means that we don't have to keep like constructing reparsing. It's a way of skipping reparsing. Well, guess what? We're not gonna do connect anymore. What we'll do instead is as a mozlit element, we're gonna have two things. We're gonna have the one important thing is we're gonna have what's called a property of a download, which is an object. Static download type object. And I think queries is also helpful. Static queries. These have been very helpful. So instead of this, we do this. Here, let's get the full Kit caboodle here. So what we're trying to map is queries. That is simply download type icon, download target is download target, download details normal, and we don't have to do that. We're going to say it's this, it's dot download detail. There's like a pattern here, eh? Download details hover, and then download details button hover. And then download button. And then download progress. All right, and then we can get rid of that. Whoop. And that'll mean that we don't need this anymore. I don't think we actually need any of this. What we're going to do instead is we're going to render. And we need the HTML. Import HTML. And so what we will render is this. We can just copy this in, actually. Yeah, there you go. And then we don't need connect at all, or at least this part. I think we can get rid of that. This dot element. Set attribute active. This first child. This whole element thing I think can go away too, unless like when is element used? This dot element. It's used here. Show status. So really what we want to do is, instead of using element, we're going to use the parent node, parent element. There's an assumption that the parent element can be used like this. Okay. Cool. So we'll say parent element. Is that's a thing, right? No. Document dot body parent element. Yeah. Const parent equals this dot parent element. Parent. We're gonna have the. I mean, eventually the parent, the caller will be responsible for this part. Download button. This element query selector download button. No, that's all wrong. It's going to be this dot download button. Except in connect, ensure active. You may not have rendered yet. So instead, what we'll do is on click, at click, yeah, at click equal this dot on click on download button click, and then On download button, click. We'll do that. And then we don't need this. And parent, append, child. We'll just say this. Const parent is already a global variable. What do you mean? Where is there already a global variable called parent? What do you mean? What if I const mconly equals 5? Console log mconly. Okay, so there must be something called parent. Is there just like oh, so there's always oh, that's what we're shadowing. Okay. There are like things like window.parent, window.status. That's what it's complaining about. It now thinks we're in the parent context. Okay, fine. Parent element, add event listener, click. On download, click. It does feel like that's the sort of thing that the caller should be responsible for, but whatever. Class download button, template, invalid HTML syntax. What do you mean? Oh, I need to close that. And this. And right, I need to click equals no quotes. That's what it's looking for. Okay. If not active, active is true, is connect, and then on changed. On changed is something that the subclass does. So like on changed, this is meant to be overridden by subclasses. Row, new error, on changed should be overridden. Download element shell subclass. Okay. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens if we do this. So something will construct this, and then they'll call ensure active, which is going to connect, which will insert ourselves into the DOM. This may just work. I would be very surprised, but it may. Let's find out. Let's do a mock build for real. That is apparent. Smurf D. Where's the sound effect? Great pun. That's a great pun from Smurf D. I love it. I love it. I can't help but
Just spill your beans.
I love the pun. I get very excited about puns. Send me your puns. Call me Rapunzel over here. Eh? All right, let's go. If I download a thing, will it show up? Well, I've actually already got downloads in my history. Let's take a... I expect this to be horribly broken, but let's... Yeah, okay. Stuff's showing up. Stuff's showing up. Horribly broken looking, but stuff's showing up. And let's see, if I download this image, save image as, It kind of it shows up. It shows up. Now let's disable pop-up auto hide. That's very interesting. We've got this thing, and if I like, I've got that thing, and I go like, download button, undefined. I am skeptical. Oh, I know what's wrong. This should not be. We have not done the job yet. We still have this old implementation over here. We never saved this file, so I'll go ahead and save this file, and I'll clean up and get rid of a bunch of stuff it doesn't need anymore. But we need to change our entry points. Where else is broken here? Don't need that anymore. Okay, we need to change the place in, say, like downloads panel or downloads view UI. That's import. We need it to, instead of using download view UI, download element shell. So let's say here, we are going to import download element shell from Moz source browser components downloads content download element shell.mjs. And then we actually have to like register this thing. So under Moz build, I'm gonna say Moz source files. This is under the jar manifest. I mean, let's see what we've done over in other places for UI. Let's see. Modules. Just looking at stuff we've built before. Modules. The actual content goes in the jar files. Okay. So instead of using Moz source, it's going to be Chrome : / browser content. Downloads. And then yeah, we do imports like that here. It's a little weird, but it can be done. Yeah, okay. So Chrome : / browser content downloads download element shell. And we'll put this in jar mn content browser downloads download element shell.mjs content download element shell.mjs. These are all camel case. I wonder if I should be following the convention, but we tend to put elements, Moz elements, or lit elements in kebab case. So I expect this to not work nearly as well as what we had before. I expect this to blow up pretty explosively. But if we can get something to show up, I'll be pretty happy. Oh, we've just broken things horribly now, haven't we? Failed to load, missing Chrome or resource URL. Oh, there's a dot at the end? I named it incorrectly. What? Download element shell.mjs. Did I attempt to load it incorrectly? Downloads.js, download element shell. What? Missing Chrome. Failed to load because it thinks it's got a dot at the end of its name. Download element shell.mjs. Did I package that incorrectly? jar.mn. Oh, yes, I put a dot there. I should not have done that. Easy to do. And yeah, the rest of the browser. So I've got Nova enabled in Nightly right now. It's still coming along. There's a lot left to do, but it's starting to look a lot better. Remember when the URL bar would look like crazy? Now it's better. We've got new colors. We've got these, like, in particular, like these surrounding boxes around the toolbar. Yeah, we're getting Nova looking pretty spiffy. So we're gonna put a lot of effort into making it look pretty spiffy. Window is not defined. Line 7. Window. Oh. Oh, okay. I guess there is a reason why we do not. There is a reason why we do not import modules like that. So this is not the right call to where am I? Where was I thinking? Chrome // browser content downloads. So that's over in downloads.js. So in downloads.js, there should be a notion of a window. Window is not defined. No, there should be a notion of a window in here. Hang on. Tools. Everything Borkin because window not defined. Presumably because I'm attempting to load download element shell. Download element shell. Only gets brought in here in downloads.js. Should I be like going import download element shell from Chrome. Yeah, maybe. Like, I'm guessing this is what's breaking things. Can only appear with source type module. So then what's your problem? So almost certainly this is the issue. Let's verify that. I will remove this. And I guess we will comment. I'll just say class download element shell. Right? Okay. So this should cause the browser to load, but it's not very satisfying. Why isn't this working? So that's right. And if I attempt to put this back, let's go through what download element shell does at the top. Ports these things, defines all these things, and lit gets upset because there's no window, it thinks. Which is silly because there should be a window. So the reason, okay, I think I get it. So the reason why it's not working is because it's not been imported into the scope of the window. It's been imported into the scope of download.js. So download.js is brought in here. It's a lazy script getter. And that means it's executed in the context. Oh goodness, I don't remember. But how do we add new custom elements to the main? Here, custom element. Here we go. Maybe this is what we should do. Okay. So instead of in downloads.js, oh boy. Architecture is so awkward. This is a custom element. And this is a downloads view. Let's do something kind of hacky. Lazy module getter. In browser.js. I know. It's like, hey, you shouldn't be adding anything. And I need you to slow your roll, linter. It's like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. And I'm saying, hey, relax. I'm just prototyping here. Let's see if at least the browser runs properly now. No, it doesn't. Still is like, hey, window is not defined. Importing components like this, I don't think is going to work out. I think ultimately what it wants us to do is stuff like, yeah, set element creation callback, import ES module. That is obviously not the right solution, but more refactoring probably necessary, eh? Download element shell is not defined, so that's a different error message. On line 1155. Element shell. Export. There's a way of it being the default export. Export default. Default class. Quite. Download element shell is not defined still. Line 1155. Let's just get this to compile or to build. I want to get into a console and see what's exposed, because browser.js was like, hey, I've imported download element shell, dog. So like, what do we expect? Is it an ordering issue? It knows about element shell X. It's like this part never happened. How about this? Custom elements dot. We're going to define it on the custom elements of the window. Does that get loaded? Custom elements get download element shell. Okay, there it is. Okay. Okay, so now what we could potentially do is kind of like a workaround. Extends custom elements dot get download shell. That's pretty gross, honestly. That's very gross. I think we're actually going to want to factor this out. But I just want to see it work. So that shows up. Okay, so now I'm going to download an image. I just need an image. Give me an image. Give me an image. Replace. Okay. Okay. Broken. Let's look in the console. Illegal constructor. Yeah, here we go. Create a rich list item, center. We're going to create a new download view item. Super. And we bail out. We are in a exception, illegal constructor. So the constructor is no good. Somehow lit is like, hey, you can't do that. Hey, not allowed. You shouldn't be taking arguments, probably. So instead, and then download view item. View item dot download equals download. View item dot set element. Let's try that. I just want something to show up, and then we can worry about doing it right. Like a plan is starting to form in my head. As I do this wrong, a plan is starting to form. Like what I ultimately think I need to do is, one thing, I need to factor this out into its own module, probably. not this part, the subclassing that this thing does into its own module. Excuse me, and then have them emit custom elements for wherever they are registered. And then hang on. Yeah, and then update all the call points. But I'm like using the old constructor approach is no good. Download. I need an image. Poor Leafs coach. All right, here we go. Replace. Okay, still broken. Still a legal constructor. What? Am I not allowed? Oh, well, that also should be like that. But still a illegal constructor. That's unusual. Let's break here. Do that. Here. View item. And then in here, super. Somehow that's an illegal constructor. Illegal constructor. Lit element. Surely extending HTML element. Thanks for generally solve with custom element define. I think I need to look into this. I actually don't think this is a lit problem. I think I've just done this wrong. I think doing it like this, my guess is, oh, you know what it is probably is I need to make downloads view item, like define it. That's probably what I need to do. So let's do that real quick. One last thing. Just one last thing. Custom elements define download view item. Download view item. And I think I have to give it like downloads view item. All right, one last thing. One last chance. You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind. Man, this has been a very musical episode. So the to-dos for next time will be like, I want to pull out from the module that subclass of the element shell. Okay, so something's showing up here now. And I don't see any exceptions. That's good. Let's disable pop-up auto hide. Let's take a quick peek inside. We have the rich list item. but it's like nothing ever got assigned. Nothing ever got injected. Downloads.js. View item. We created it. We set the element. Let's download something else. Save image. Okay. Sure, active. And then when's render going to be called? When do we get it attached to the DOM? So no one called connect on us. Oh, this is connect. So hold on a second. Are we going to get... Here, let's do that again. Let's download something again. Let's download that same image. Yes. Connect. Did we just get bounced out? Type error. Can't access property. This parent element is null. Oh, because we are inside... Wait. This. Parent element. Null. On the stack. We're in here. We haven't actually been added to the DOM yet. Right. Okay. Okay. One last thing. And then we'll call it. This dot parent element. Here, instead of that, it's this dot element. And then in downloads.js, that set element is container. Okay. I just want something to show up, you know? Just give me a chance, coach. But in my mind, again, as I'm doing this, a picture is forming about how to do it right. Let's see. Poor old Leafs coach. Poor old Leafs. Okay, a thing showed up. Hey, all right. It looks broken as hell, but a thing showed up. And I like that. Downloads item, shadow root, download main area. So if I like do this and I say, what's your download button? We've got a button. Oh, we got a button. What we don't have is correct styling. But that's okay. We're gonna figure that out. I think that's gonna involve me like maybe moving some of the styling out of downloads.css into a special style sheet. But hey, we got something showing up. And now, I'll bet you, here's the other thing. If I'm in download element shell on download button click. Does this work? Yeah, it does. And then we get an exception because it's like, hey, download view item for element is undefined. A whole lot of stuff is broken, it says. Okay, great. Well, I can work with that. There's a lot to do here to factor stuff out. Again, I said a picture is forming on how to approach this correctly. I don't think we should do it the way I've done it here. And the week after next, hopefully we can come back to this, or we may actually go and try the center cropping stuff. It depends on what information I have. But a picture is forming. We're making forward progress. Hey, thanks for watching episode 440 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. We got a thing to show up using a lit element. It got a little hairy, But we got somewhere. Let me know what you thought of the episode. There's a link to rate this episode here in the agenda. I'll drop a link there into the chat. Link to rate this episode goes into the chat. Feel free to let me know what you thought. I read everything that comes in. If you have questions, comments, things you want to see more of, things you want to see less of, just let me know. And with that, I'll call it there. Again, no episode next week. But I'll be back on May 27th, hopefully. And if you're looking for some cool tunes to jam out to, check out the Faith No More, We Care a Lot cover, or the Anthem cover, the Rush Anthem cover by a bunch of excellent musicians. And have yourselves a great couple weeks. I will see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.